Welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, dancer, instructor, and proud owner of a thriving belly dance fitness business. And in this podcast, I'm giving it to you straight, sharing what it takes to kickstart and grow your dance and fitness business for the success you deserve. Whether you're a seasoned instructor, a passionate performer, or dreaming of turning your love for dance and fitness into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Lace up those sneakers and pull on those dance shoes and get ready for truth smacks, tips, and inspiration. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, your host, and this is episode 62. I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Shoshana Mizell. I don't know why I just found out about Shoshana. I don't get it. We're both from New York City. What the heck? I don't know why I didn't know about you. She is, first of all, a knockout. That's one. I want to be you when I grow up. Two, you're an amazing dancer, an amazing teacher. And being so freaking amazing, you had such a complex history. And by the way, she has a book called Trigger Warning, and I read it. I just couldn't put it down. And I loved, don't worry, I'm going to let Shoshana talk, don't worry. But I loved the way she writes. And you know why? Because she writes like I do. She writes how she speaks, nothing formal. Anyway, I'm just super excited to have her on, and how she was able to maintain her artistry, her business, her livelihood, while all this was going on. So, Shoshana, thank you so much for being here. I welcome you to Dance Fit Biz Builders.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it is such a pleasure. I'm so honored that you asked me. It's really, really cool. And I guess that, part of your question, when I tell you how honored I am, and of course this is audio, so no one can see your face, but I can, how you're kind of surprised, that childhood, that childlike humility, I think is something that I was just blessed with. It's just being grateful for the little things that just, maybe other people, I don't know, wouldn't really think much of it, but it's just, I have such gratitude for the things that seem small and subtle and don't really, I'd rather be in an off Broadway show than on Broadway, doing something that really means something. And if it only touches a couple of lives, that's good enough for me.
That just goes to show you what type of person you are. I love that.
Thank you.
Shoshana, your book is amazing. It I'm sure it's helped so many people. It's helped me. Can you just quickly, I know it's a lot, you went through your life, but maybe just kind of quickly tell our audience just some of the complexity of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I was born in a time, 1959, when I was born, and then in the 60s, the whole idea of the family dynamic, a mom, a dad, children, and this happy life, and all the different sitcoms that were on TV, and everything was perfect, and there was a white picket fence and so forth. That was not happening in my life, and I have a feeling it wasn't happening in many, many, many other thousands of children's lives, at least in the New York area. Let's say that's where I was, brought up and raised. The book is a reflection, although I don't write it. You can, infer from it that there has been obviously millennia of family dysfunction that might have come from superstitions or, cultures, all different type of things. People who just didn't have boundaries, and they lived in different parts of the world and came to America with so many different ideas about what family should or shouldn't be, and their boundaries were different than we have now. But the one thing about children is that as we grow up, and I can only speak for myself, but I've noticed that with a lot of people, as we grow up, I was telling my story subconsciously, the narrative was written by all the adults in my life. So I was feeling my feelings in accordance to what the grown-ups in my life told me what I was feeling. And really, this book came about when a therapist asked me to write a few paragraphs on my story, like how I would see things. And I never realized how I had not written the story of my life. All the adults in my life did, and the caretakers and, teachers and whoever was there. I was, little, all these different authority figures in our lives. And having that freedom to have someone tell your own story. So I took out the script I had in my head of what all the adults told me, and I started telling my own story, but how I felt about it. The thing is that sometimes when there might be challenges or traumas in our life, we may feel like we have no feelings at all. You can either have trauma from it, or sometimes you can be numb and have no feelings whatsoever at all and not even remember certain things in your life. And not just, when I was little, but as a teenager, adolescent, teenager, and young woman. And sitting down when you're ready, when I've done the work, because sometimes telling your story can trigger things and just make you feel worse in the moment. But when you're ready and you can actually sit with the things that you think you don't remember, all of a sudden things start coming up. The empowerment of being able to tell your own story, to recall, recollect, and kind of sift through whatever coping mechanisms that you are having during any traumatic experience. Being able to put words to it is incredibly powerful. As I grew up, I really, really just loved dance so much because it was a way for me to, number one, be in complete control over my body. And as far as it was something that was solo, it was my body. I was in charge of it. And it was also in charge of whether I wanted to be really good at it in practice or just, kind of fake my way through it and not be so good at it. But if I wasn't really great at something, at least I know that I was the one that made that decision. So those are kind of some of the really positive things that past traumas had manifested in that way. Some other things that weren't so positive, and that's okay too. Eventually I was able to surmount those. And when it came to Middle Eastern dance, I had started with, more Western stuff, tap and jazz and ballet. The one thing about belly dance is that, its roots are so much about improvisation. There's not like first position, second position, third position. It's not so stringent and so strict. And there's this fine line between expression of sensuality and outright sexuality. And I think because of the things I experienced in my life as a young person who is powerless over the adults in my life, that was another step where I was able to define my own sense of what sensuality meant, and that it would be okay to extract the type of sexuality that I had been exposed to, either from familial situations or just from, magazines and Vogue and Mademoiselle and all those ones that were very, very popular at that time when I was a teenager. And I was able to define it. And what was so amazing was that, especially in the 80s, when I started at the really, popular nightclubs, is that people came from all over the world specifically to listen to these incredibly talented Middle Eastern musicians and come and watch the dancers. And it was a really incredible opportunity to heal, to set my intentions. All the different dancers had their own little kind of groupies and people would come to see them. I would spend every penny I had taking dance class and perfecting my craft and buying videos of all these dancers from Egypt. And I would study, and nobody was really teaching Suherzaki hips. No one was really teaching the drama of, Sami Gamal and teatro carioca, like all these, classic dancers. So I would have to watch and break it down. This kind of just insatiable desire I had was something that I don't necessarily take credit for. I feel as though there was just a gift, a shift in me. I had been through so much. So I figure the powers that be out there in the universe, like, let's give this little girl a break. Okay. Let's give her some kind of desire. And then it's going to have to be up to her to, to then run after it. But there was a desire in me to actually live. I mean, literally to physically survive. And that was not necessarily the choices of some very important adults in my life. So when it came time, my early 20s, when it came time to have the opportunity to start like teaching abroad and really, really, really going big, that's where things kind of changed for me. I decided that I'd rather have children. And I think I kind of hid behind that for fear of being too big, too famous. It was just very overwhelming for me. So I always kind of played it smaller than I really should have. And unfortunately, I lost a lot of momentum. But, at 65 years old now, I have the most incredible sons, three adult sons and grandchildren. So I definitely don't regret that. And the lesson in that is that, life is part of making decisions and living and yes, giving up a little bit of opportunities. I think I was just seeing the big picture and wanting to kind of make up for the broken family that I had. I think that if you opened a dictionary and the term "it's never too late," you'd see a picture of me because I've reinvented myself at an older age so many times and come back into the light. When I was ready, there were times where I was working 7 days a week, and due to PTSD, I would have to stop for months, sometimes a year, and then I'd come back and it'd be like I was fresh and new, and all the customers like, oh, well, we haven't seen you in a while and so forth. So my journey was not linear at all. It was very low and very high and very low and very high. And I think that, with seeking the help that I needed, being consistent and starting out slow, the expectations of coming back for me and everybody saying, oh, Sean is back. Okay, good. Now she's going to be a big star. That was something that was also a manifestation of this unrealistic expectation of setting myself up for failure. And when I realized that it was okay to plant my seed and just to make sure to water it every day, give it some sunshine, really work on having nice, strong roots, then eventually it would grow. And that's kind of what I started doing, I'd say about 5 years ago. I had really chose some incredible professionals to take me deeper than I ever have before, to have some really significant healing in my life. And facing all those things, making some major changes in my life, helped me to be calm enough and serene enough to be patient and hopeful and just have that feeling like, I know this is going to work. And it's not a reflection of whether people love me or not. It has nothing to do with that. That love has got to come from me to me. That sense of appreciation, that sense of worthiness and value is something that has to come from within me. Otherwise, I'm never going to make it, because it's going to be a bumpy road coming back into this with so many dancers and so many young dancers and social media where there was no Facebook when I was, a big star, big Shoshana star when I was young. Being realistic about what I had to offer, which was obviously many years. At that time, I had 4 decades of experience. So I had my niche of what I could contribute to dancers, and the dancers that I felt had the character to appreciate what I had, that they would come in time, And so I just decided one day that I was going to start with TikTok and just start dancing, and just slowly get myself out there. And it's funny because I had, over the years, had gained a lot of weight. And so I was like, if I decide that I'm going to wait until I lose this weight, it's never going to happen. So I just put on a costume and I just went out there, and I had, a lot of people who had nothing to do with belly dance would make, these mean remarks about me being overweight. And it was okay. I just blocked, I just like deleted it and blocked them. And they were right. For me, I was not able to execute moves the way I wanted to because I had extra adipose tissue in places where I couldn't lift my hip up as much because there was adipose tissue there, So it was not like a visual thing. It was more like functional. So as time went on, people were seeing me, losing weight. And as a result, being able to do the moves I used to be able to do. So that was the grassroots of how I was inspiring other women and hopefully men as well, and anything in between, to not wait until there's a perfect time. Because for me, there just was no perfect time. And if I had inspired anybody, it would be because of my evolution, not because I hopped in to the scene, in absolute glistening perfection. It's, because I hopped in when I was at, not the highest point in my life physically. And I would get a lot of messages that I'm inspiring people, or people who are already doing great on their own, but like, Shoshana, I'm so proud of you. You really, no matter what, you're just showing up, you're being consistent. And that's what it is. And I actually, you inspired me so much last year when you would talk about, how important consistency is, and consistently, marketing yourself. And that even if it's 2 years of continuously reaching out to certain people, what if after 2 years they decide, you know what? I'm going to take her workshop. I've been seeing her in my email. I've been seeing her on social media for 2 years. I was like, I got to take Shoshana's class sometime. And you forget, and life happens. I was doing that, but to hear somebody like you, someone who I had so much respect for, and your consistency worked on me because I took your workshop. And now, I had gone through a breakup, and there was a lot of financial backlash because of that. And I'm thinking, how am I going to come up with another $1,200 a month? And I was like, oh, I know. I'm going to turn part of my apartment into a dance studio. And I invested money in mirrors. I completely redid, the apartment, and made sure that, I researched, I looked at other people's studios. I looked at what other people's home studios look like. I figured out how many students I could have here realistically, what I would charge, what packages I would charge, how, that being realistic about what people could afford, but also at the same time making sure that, my value, I have a lot of experience, not only in teaching, but for new dancers who want to go out there and dance professionally, how to protect yourself, how to know how much to charge for, a wedding, as opposed to a bellygram, as opposed to if you're going to go out and drive for an hour, or it's only 15 minutes away, just all those things. I have a lot of experience with that. When should you have a contract? When it's okay to just make it, it's a very simple, I'll see you there, or you can Venmo me or whatever, just things like that. And I noticed that the women who seemed to be coming to me were coming with a little bit of their own baggage. And this is before my book came out. So they really didn't know anything about me. So it was very interesting how there were these incredible women who were at some place in their life where they needed healing, and they felt that healing would come from belly dance. I don't know if they had seen me dance on social media, and I had talked about female empowerment and it doesn't really matter. It's however they found me and whatever it was that attracted them to come to my class. I have had so many students through the years, but especially this past year that I've had my own studio, cry and tell me I was going through this or I was going through that. You don't understand what you do for me. You don't understand how this class makes me feel. And just like pouring their heart out. And it really came to fruition more so when I started 8 weeks ago. I started a belly dance costume making class. It was a workshop. It was like I don't know, 8-week course. I had a set price. The students all responsible for buying their own materials and so forth. I had a big table, and what happened. Not only were they learning how to sew and make their own costumes and see their creativity, pick colors and jewels and stuff, and it started becoming where we were all at the table talking about life and talking about, that asking me about dance and asking me about what was it like to have kids and perform at night. And, and then every woman would talk about her life, either what she was going through or difficulties or happiness. At one point, I don't know how this happened, but at one point, one of the students went to her car to grab her tarot cards and started doing everybody's tarot card reading, and then the next week, and this was recent, and this was just made it like, this is what I have been dreaming about my whole entire life. When I was 5 years old, I remember telling my mom, "Mommy, I want to be a mom and a dancer when I grow up." So this is about 2 weeks ago. I'm sitting down. The girls are rehearsing because I had my big annual hafla, which I just had this past Saturday. It was the most successful year so far. And I was sitting on the couch with one of the dancers, and they were in the studio dancing, and they were joking around, trying different moves and stuff. And I was like sitting there. I was like, this is it, where women can come and dance and experiment and try new steps and feel so comfortable. They don't have to say, "Oh, Shona, it's okay. Can I, they just know that they are family." And I just felt that come full circle, being such a scared little girl, being afraid to call out to my mother because I was having a bad dream, not knowing what would happen, to being Mama Shoshana, where my little belly dance children, even if they're older than me, they're still my children, when they're in my class, having that freedom to dance, that they are in a place where they're safe, a place that is healing and healing in ways that I have no idea how it happened. It's just like they say, build it and they will come. I've had a lot of people message me about my book, and it was very transformative. And every author, after they have a book out, their dream is to be interviewed on a podcast. And I would pray on that and manifest that. And then you asked me, someone told me, "Shoshana, expect beautiful things to happen to you. Expect it, because it's going to happen." Just your action, your movement, your energy that is going out. I actually started another book, which is just all about my entire belly dance career. And what it is like, I've danced for so many movie stars. I've had so many, like I danced for, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to give it away, but also about, costuming for your body, and the idea of how you feel, you want to express your sensuality, being safe in ways, the different types of dancing, how it's evolved, and, things like that. And also just being available, Q&A. Dancers that are just coming out. I haven't lived this long to keep any secrets. If I'm going to leave a legacy, I'm laying it all on the table. What's the point of doing all this for so many years and then keeping the secrets? So all the secrets come out. How do you do that hip work? Like the piston hip, like how, like there's something, I can't get it. And I give that away. I tell all, because this is my responsibility as a dancer. If I really love this genre of dance and this art, I must tell you every single thing, so that when I'm in belly dance heaven, wherever I go, I know it's going to be carried on. Yeah.
Wow. That was perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to touch on a few things that you've said. Would you say that your belly dancing, your dancing, was it a way for you to perfect your passion or to escape, or both?
Both. Absolutely both. On an emotional / psychological level. And I didn't know it at the time because I was only 20 years old. I had literally, December 16th, 1979, I turned 20. A week later, I was asked to do my first professional belly dance at Egyptian Gardens, which is in Manhattan, which was one of the very last old time belly dance nightclubs. So I didn't know. I was very young. I had no idea what was motivating me. I finally had found something that I was good at. I think that had a lot to do with it as well. And the fact that I practiced 5 hours a day didn't hurt, but I found something that I could get attention for in the way I used to get attention. I wasn't quite sure what that really meant, but I knew that if I was on stage, I would be safe. And the movements, the music, I can't explain to you how the quarter notes affected me. They actually went into my stomach, like my gut. Like I actually had so many visceral reactions. My body responded to it. I'm sure that, I came from the Middle East and unfortunately told to leave, so our people were like all over the place in Europe and all different places. But when I heard this music, that was home for me. I was just drawn to it. And I think a byproduct of being so drawn to it was to want to perfect my craft and to want to be really, really great, because it just made me feel so good. And I love this genre of dance so much. I wanted to respect it. I wanted to, give it all the love and practice and sweat, and whatever it took to deserve to be on stage to represent this dance.
Can you just tell our listeners, you said you came from the Middle East. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I'll tell you something. I went on to 23andMe, said I was an Ashkenazi Jew, and Ashkenazi to most people means Europe. Well, Ashkenaz was one of the sons of Noah. That's where that comes from. But as it goes deeper into the history, on 23andMe, it says that those people we came through the Middle East and settled there for a while until we were kicked out. Why it's so easy to learn Arabic if you know Hebrew, because it's very, very, very similar. I would never have necessarily known that unless we had all these different DNA tests. As far as I knew, I was Russian Lithuanian. But when I read the 23andMe and it went deeper, it made sense about my reaction. But I grew up with homelessness. I mean, this is what I grew up with. My stepmom was Israeli. She actually immigrated, but she was there. She lived there when it was Palestine. She was there on Independence Day. She was in the army, everything. So her best friend was a Yemenite Jew who she was very, very dark. And so it was just part of how I grew up. It's not like, oh, I found homeless when I started belly dancing. I grew up like that, and growing up in Manhattan, going into the Village, all the belly dance nightclubs, a lot of Israeli nightclubs had belly dancers, this was it, this Middle Eastern food, Middle Eastern Jews. And that's how I grew up. So it was part of my life for, since I was a very little girl. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to frequent Cafe Finjan on 8th Street with my parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, did you dance there? Maybe I saw you.
I don't think so. I think that when I started taking dance class, they were kind of starting to end a little bit, you know. I didn't quite make it in time, but I danced across the street at Darwish, you know, and but I would go with my parents and I would like practice my little belly dance steps, you know. So yeah.
So I know you guys can't see Shoshana right now, but like she has brown skin. So like for her to say she's like, I know she's Ashkenazi, like I'm sorry, excuse me, Russian Lithuanian. But I mean you're dark skinned. I mean, it's just really it's just beautiful just to show you that we're all one people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about a few other things that you touched on. You were talking about how people felt very, very comfortable being in your house, right?
Mhm.
Taking classes. And I talk about this, you know, on the podcast, on other episodes. And the saying is, you are best equipped to serve those who you once were.
Ah, yes.
And so I think that's what you exude. And that's why people feel so incredibly comfortable just really being transparent and genuine in your presence.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you who are thinking about what is your niche, think about why you started what you do now, whether it be dance, fitness, whatever it is. And think about why you got into it in the first place and where you were at that point and why you stuck with it. And that is a good start to what your niche can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you say your niche, like, you know, you don't have to really create it. It is something that you've been through, something that you've surmounted, something that you've experienced strength, hope, and wisdom on. That's it. You cannot lose if that's where you're coming from. Absolutely.
So another thing I loved that you said, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, is putting yourself out there, especially now on TikTok, consistency. And I talk about this a lot on my episodes. And you're at a very beautiful, ripe age. And I have to tell you, you are an exception of, you know, other people at your beautiful, ripe age don't have that same mentality as you. So what can you tell someone of that age or even younger? How do you get them off the fence?
Oh my gosh. So I think that I'm laughing because I think that there's some place where I have lost touch with reality. And
Okay.
I think that I make that work for me. It's like, you know, I wonder sometimes if I see myself and I'm like, I don't see any, like, since I'm 50, I'm trying to look for wrinkles. I don't see any wrinkles. I'm like, I noticed that if anything, I seem to be getting younger, and I could be in denial. I could be delusional, but you know what? It's okay. I go with it. I think some of that has to do with the fact that, you know, I've been through so many horrible things. I've survived so much that if the worst that could happen was I get a couple of rejections here and there, or people say, you know, grandma, hang it up. I'm like, you know what? Keep it coming, because I've been through so much worse. If I can handle my childhood and get through it and still be here, have survived and thrived, then, you know, I think one thing I could say is expect rejection and consider rejection as a free gift from the rejectors, a free gift on number one. Is there any validity in what they're saying? Forget about the fact that they're not saying it in a nice way. You can throw that away. You don't need that. But look into what they're saying. If there's any validity, take care of it. Work on it. Put your ego on the side for a little bit. Take what you can out of their comment, and the rest of it, you can just let it go away. Just throw it away. You don't need it. And consistency is important, because there were times where I really wanted attention, and I wouldn't be consistent. And then I'd wonder why, you know, how come it's not, you know, how come I'm not getting what I want? And then I think about it as food, as sustenance. I have to eat every single day. I have to feed myself. And so if I want growth, then I have to feed my audience. And It's just taking the emotions out of it and just being very, very practical about it. I don't know, just feeling like I have something to offer. And I think the main thing I have to offer in my life now is what is obvious, and that is life starts at 65. I started really doing this a lot when I turned 60. I saw that women were choosing to dress in a certain way that was like aging them, and they were putting so many limitations. I would listen to many, many different podcasts on YouTube, and I would, specifically look for podcasts on women, over 50, what they were going through, what it was like. I would listen to professionals. I'd listen to just, women who were just talking about, had their own little podcasts or whatever. So I also have like a little channel, like sensual jazz dancing for women over 50, where, yeah, you don't do the floor work and the flips and all that stuff. But that does not mean that you have lost your sensuality. You have lost your sexuality. You have lost the value of being a beautiful, sensual woman, and not necessarily for anybody else's reaction. Yeah, I did start a little channel on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. I haven't really pushed it too much, but it's there and it's simmering and people like it. And, I've had a couple of little reactions here and there, but it's kind of like on the fire, but very, very low on the back burner, because I went to school to be a substance abuse counselor, and that took almost a year. And then my book took 2 years to write. And so I had a lot going on. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. And the fact that you're so driven to learn TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, good for you.
Yeah.
Staying relevant.
Yeah, staying relevant.
So, well, thank you for that. That was great practical advice. So do you feel like you're getting paid what you're worth?
That's a very good question. I probably could go up a little bit higher, but I'll tell you, when it comes to students that I have come here, they are so consistent. When they're finished with the package, they buy another package. So it's not like they're just kind of coming here and there. But when I have a massage client, I definitely have a sliding scale. So my top would be like, a massage would be like 150. But there's people who are in pain that I know can't afford that. So I'll go down to 80. And if you're buying package after package of dance classes and private lessons and so forth, and you're in my costume workshop and you're, really, really very involved in my studio, which is called Queen's Belly Dance Studio, then yeah, I consider that. I consider everything. And I feel that if somebody is suffering from pain and they can't afford as much as someone else, I'm not going to let them be in pain. And I have the ability to be able to make those decisions. And it always comes back to me in one way or another, always. So my next thing is I keep on getting pushed to start taking my artwork to outside street artwork sales in Queens. They have a lot of street festivals, stuff like that. So that's my next thing. But I can also take my massage table, and my students said, well, if you do that, maybe we can do like a little side belly dance thing where it'll bring people to your stand. So there's, it's not like coming up with something new, but it's coming up with what you do well and taking it to different venues and different people and letting people know, oh, I thought belly dancing was like stripping. No, it's not. Oh, I thought massage was like a happy ending. No, it's not, and wow, just like artwork, like showing, wow, that's really beautiful. That has having an effect on me. Like, what does that mean? And it's just starting conversations. So there's no end to it. There's no end to it. Whatever you have that you do well, you don't have to make up shit that you don't know how to do. Just stick with what you know and grow with that and take it to the world.
You're a natural entrepreneur. You're just saying it in a different way, but you're natural. You see possibility. And I love the fact that you don't have to make up new shit. Whatever you are doing, just repurpose it.
Exactly.
Did you ever think of yourself as an entrepreneur, Shoshana?
No.
You are.
Not until this year when I was just like, you know what? I am jumping in, fearful or not. I'm more scared of not doing it. I'm more scared of not doing it, you know?
I love it. Oh, I love even in the beginning when you said, if you open the dictionary, you see a picture of me where it would say, it's never too late or something like that. Was it a dictionary or something?
Yeah, yeah,
I know this may sound weird. It's almost like your complex history had to happen
yeah,
for you to be where you are, your true self.
absolutely.
Are you the happiest you've ever been?
Yes, I am the happiest I've ever been. I definitely am. There are times where I'm feeling really uncomfortable, and I am so comfortable being uncomfortable. And usually it's because the depth of trauma, the depth of experiences, it's such a cyclical thing. You just don't know, when something comes up or you see something or something that's triggered, can't always identify it. But I know when something's uncomfortable, if I don't act out and I just sit with it, that is when the healing happens, and if it takes a couple of days, it's fine. The one thing I know is that I don't have to feel okay to continue to be putting myself and the things that I have to offer out there. That's the one thing. I don't have to be happy that day in order to be consistent with my wares or with whatever I have to offer, even if it's just something small that day, like taking a clip of dancing. Like I did that this yesterday. I took a little clip of my performance from Saturday. I slowed it down and I put it to some very beautiful music. And I couldn't believe how many reactions I got. It's gorgeous. It's this and that. I think something about it was veil. It was very soothing. It was very slow motion. Maybe people were going through something yesterday. I don't know. And it did something, but you know what? It put me in their day. It put something about the way I saw artistry for that day. It put me in their consciousness. Yeah, the truth is that some of it was marketing, but some of it was also, within the realm of marketing, there's so much to offer. It's not just about creating revenue. Sometimes it's just creating this sense that, wow, you know what? When I partake in this woman's, whatever it is that she has out there, it just fucking makes me feel good, and sometimes that's enough of a seed to plant to then eventually do things where I can pay my rent. I can have something for my retirement. I can buy, Hanukkah gifts for the kids. I mean, just, and hopefully have a loving impact on whoever's watching it, even if they don't know who the heck I am. And maybe they'll think, you know what? I'm going to take a clip of my dancing or my artwork or my crocheting, and I'm going to do something creative.
So, do you guys hear that? What Shoshana just said? I mean, she doesn't take a business class. She just kind of innately knows that selling is not selling, marketing is not selling, it's serving. And that you can market to make someone feel. And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. Just market to make someone feel. You're not being sleazy or salesy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just make them feel. Flip it. That's what you're really doing. You're a natural, Shoshana. You just didn't know it. You're a natural business person. Yes, you're a natural marketer. You just didn't even know it. Really, really. This is great. This is all great. So, Shoshana, what would you tell your younger self when it comes to your art business, whether it be your paintings, your dance, your classes?
Oh, wow. It's funny because I would tell my younger self something that outsiders have been telling me lately, and I'm starting to believe them. And that is that maybe not realized how deeply my presence affects other people, and that it is okay to shine. It is okay to be phenomenal. It is okay to have greatness because you don't have to worry about losing it. Don't worry about not being your most phenomenal self because you might lose it. And that is one thing that I always played small so that I couldn't lose if something came about that was incredibly big, at whatever that may look like. And that's what I would tell my younger self, is that continue to play big, continue to receive greatness. If somebody says, Shoshana, you are phenomenal. What you have done, what I see, what I've read, what you've taught me is so incredible. I think the world of you. Accept that with love and humility, and don't be afraid to lose it.
Awesome. Awesome. Shoshana, this was such a pleasure. It was such a pleasure to speak to you more in depth. And I wanted to let you know that when I see you on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, you are so inspiring to me because, like lately, I have to admit, I'm going to be 52 soon.
Mm-hmm.
And so, menopause kind of feels shitty. Your body's changing. You don't have control over it as much.
Gorgeous Semitic skin. Look at you. You look like you're like 35.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, yeah, melanin helps, right? Same with you.
Anyway, yeah. So
but I love watching your videos. You really, really help me. You inspire me. You make me feel like, no, Orit, you have a lot of years left.
You're just starting, girlfriend. Yeah.
Thank you.
So my God, yeah.
So thank you for that, Shoshana. And I want to know, where can people find you and where can they get your book?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the book is called Trigger Warning. And instead of on the front using Shoshana Mizell as the author's name, I used Nancy Baxter. Nancy, when I was a little girl, after my mom had passed away and I had to go live with my father and stepmother, my father, I think he was like the first trans, quote unquote, type of experience I ever had. He would let me put jewelry all over him. And because I came from a very crazy childhood, and my stepmother wasn't really quite that loving, affectionate. But so I was like, Daddy, I want to put this on you. And so I got to name him Nancy. He became this whole other character. And then when I would go to where my father and stepmother had a business, they worked so hard. They worked so hard. Sometimes we had to sleep at their business because they were like producing things overnight. And so I would make believe I was my father's secretary. So I would call myself Miss Baxter, and I would type stuff for him. And Miss Baxter was the name of the character from Get Smart. She was the other spy, and she was so pretty, and he used to call Miss Baxter. So I had a ghostwriter's name, but I thought it was cute to use Nancy Baxter because that was a very positive childhood. One of the few positive childhood things, like characters. These are characters I created for myself. And then in the front, I have, and inside the jacket, I have Shoshana Mizell. And so if you go into Amazon, it's Trigger Warning by Nancy Baxter, Baxter. Facebook, it's at Shoshana Mizell, ShoshanaMizell. That's also for TikTok. And on Instagram, it's Shomizart, SHOMIZART. And if you just go on Google and just put Shoshana Mizell, I'm everywhere.
Awesome. And I'll put all that into the show notes so it's easy for them to find.
Okay, cool.
So, Shoshana, I would love for you to take us out with our signature outro.
Okay, folks, until our next episode, go out and kick ass.
You're badassery all around. Thank you, Shoshana.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.